Hello, hello. Welcome again to the African Queen Mo Show with Mo and Susan. Welcome. It's another day. Today is Wednesday, the 8th of January. How this month is going slowly. January is supposed to be a very, very long month. Susan is over there getting herself ready. And as she gets herself ready, we will just introduce the topic of today. While we wait for you guys to join us, thank you so much, first of all, for being here. Thank you for supporting our show. I always want to remember to say that we come from the beautiful city of Nairobi. And yes, it's a beautiful city, but it's getting very expensive and also sometimes a little bit feelings of insecurity. And so we're going to be discussing these issues. Today's a little bit of a more serious show. It's not like the last time where we were talking about our New Year's resolutions. And we'll have a little bit of a check on, we'll check up on each other on that. New Year's resolutions, how far are we? But today we're going to be talking about the calamities that we seem to be facing in this situation, in this world. What is going on, guys? Right now we have fires raging in California. Have you guys been following the news and seen that California has declared a state of emergency? Yeah. And then just recently we also had fog in the UK and in Europe, and it's actually in the US as well. People complaining that they can't see, that it's smelling funny, that it's toxic, like it smells of sulfur, like it makes them feel unwell. They end up in the hospital, and they can't really figure out why. We're just seeing these reports, and we're not even sure whether this is real news or not news, because you see, we're in the post-truth era. Yeah. And then again, we also have snow and ice in the UK, where they've been having very arctic climate, arctic weather, and freezing cold. And especially in this day and age where the new government, the Labour government, has actually cut back on the benefits to the elderly for heating up their homes. It's kind of scary. In fact, I saw a video where there was an elderly man crying and saying that he doesn't think he's going to survive with his dog. He thinks he's going to freeze to death in his own house. A British man. I tell you, that video made me cry. It was really sad. Then we also have earthquakes in Tibet and Nepal, India, Bhutan, China. Well, it's not really news that we have earthquakes, a lot of earthquakes, especially in the eastern region. Indonesia, you hear about the earthquakes all the time. But this earthquake has killed over 100 people and taken a lot of lives. And it's really, really sad state of affair, because you see videos, and I'll show you a few videos of these things, short clips. And then, of course, we also have a lot of no confidence in leaders of our world, in the leadership of many countries, such as Trudeau, who has stated his intention to resign as the Prime Minister of Canada, to the joy of many people. And also, on the other hand, some people are not too happy about that. But I know a lot of farmers must be very happy. If you guys remember the trucks that took over the roads in Canada, because of all his policies, against farming and farmers and agriculture, and making it very difficult. I think he was raising taxes for farmers in Canada. And then we also have Macron as well. Macron has also lost his confidence. People have lost confidence in Macron. And on top of that, he's insulting African nations, because he's being kicked out of, France is being kicked out of Burkina Faso, Mali. So he's busy telling African countries that we wouldn't be where we are without France. If it wasn't for the French army, we wouldn't be there now. Well, maybe that's true. And maybe that would be probably positive, because there are so many immigrants who have left. I can't call them migrants because they're refugees. They have left these countries, and many of those French troops have also created refugee situations in African countries. So he's actually, and then we have Africans who are criticizing the French colonialism agenda for Africa. And then we also have, these are governments that are basically just collapsing. We also have a state of insecurity in many countries, including our own here in Kenya. We've heard of, the arrests. They call them arrests, not abductions, but arrests. But arrests by plainclothes policemen. Apparently, those are supposed to be legal. Yeah, of young people, and they were let go. I think 5 out of 6 have been let go. Maybe Susan can correct me there. And then we have the situation with our healthcare services. We're still struggling. The state of funding in the for health in public and faith-based hospitals, missionary hospitals. I mean, we still haven't sorted that one out yet. And Susan is going to give us an update on that. But what that means is that there's a lot of people who are not able to access healthcare in Kenya on time, and it's costing lives. It's actually really sad, you know? And then in the UK, we also have a situation where we're talking about the grooming. There's a scandal going on, talking about a scandal that went on, where there was, they call grooming, but it's really the sexual defilement of children. Okay. And there was an inquiry, but the issue is the implementation of the recommendations from that inquiry. And so now people are, the parliamentarians are calling for a new inquiry, but the current prime minister doesn't want it because he claims it would take much longer. It would take another 7 years. However, they have refused the request for a national inquiry for other counties such as Oldham Council and various councils in the UK on the issue of safeguarding children from these people who are supposedly groomed, grooming them, grooming young children for adult type activities with adults. And then we also have TikTok is rife with so many single people in there. Some of them are making jokes and they're saying, I don't know whether they're joking or whether they're for real, but many people are dissatisfied with their current lives. And we see a lot of single people saying, I am tired of this single life. I am tired of, of waking up every morning to an unmarried self. I thought that was something that we can also discuss. I mean, there's a whole wide array of things. And then the final question is, are we living in reality or are we living in a simulation? And somebody made a joke on TikTok asking or stating that maybe one day we'll wake up and find that Harry Potter was really a real person and not just a character in a book. Yeah, it's true. It's difficult to differentiate what's real and what's not. Yeah. For those of you joining us, thank you very much. We see a thumbs up. Thank you very much. Remember to thumbs up the videos. Welcome into our studio. You can come and make comments in our studio. There's an invitation link in the StreamYard. And you can also make comments in YouTube and on Facebook. So, yeah, welcome. Karibu. So, Susan, welcome to the show. Karibu, salimia watu.
Hello, everybody. I'm happy to be here. How are you all? I hope you are carrying out your New Year's resolutions, and you're marking yourself against that. Perhaps I hope none of you are lying on the floor covered with the blankets and the pillow, like we saw in that image that we shared last time. Because we are now on day 8 of this year, but I'm sure we are all doing well. Certainly 2025, the beauty of a new year is that it gives us this hope of progress, hope of something new, of proving something new for the Christians, for praising God and for his mercies, receiving his mercies every day. So as Maureen has talked about, there's been a lot of tumult even in the beginning of the year. We've seen so much stuff going on. Apart from the social health security, social health insurance issue in this country, we've seen some crisis with education. Grade 9, there were no classes. They had to build these at high speed and provide for the grade 9 students. And the government students are getting free books, but the private students have to buy their books. That's causing some sort of tension because of the differentiation. Then, of course, there's the threatened strike by the medical officers because of the confusion that is emanating from the transition from NHIF to the new social health authority, the new social health system, and it's causing a lot of trouble. A lot of institutions are facing financial crisis. We also have the teachers also threatening to go on strike because of the lack of access to healthcare systems. So the healthcare system in this country, in Kenya, has actually caused a lot of tension and concern. We're seeing lots of videos, media houses, and of course the social health authority themselves trying to explain what is happening. But basically, we have, first of all, even understanding how it works is a challenge. Um, but what we've seen is that it's not, although the social health authority says it's doing well, um, the experience of the Kenyans who are using it is very, very different from what they're saying. So basically, what happened is that in 2023 October, four laws were passed uh, to create a regime, healthcare ecosystem regime, a legal regime. So the first was the Primary Health Funding Act. Second was the Digital Health Act. Next was the Social Health Insurance Fund Act. And the fourth is the Facility Improvement Financing Act. And the sort of, it was supposed to align our healthcare system with a view to attaining universal health coverage with the WHO recommendations. So now this particular, as I was listening, there are three main funds which are managed by the Social Health Act, Social Health Authority. There are three funds which are managed by the Social Health Authority, and one of them is the primary health care. And then there's the second one, which is the Social Health Insurance Fund. And the third is the Emergency, Chronic, and Critical Illness Fund. So there are three funds which are managed under the Social Health Authority. The primary health care and the Emergency, Chronic, and Critical Illness Funds are supposed to be funded by the Exchequer. That's our treasury in Kenya. They're supposed to be funded by them. And then SHIF, the Social Health Insurance Fund, is supposed to be funded by contributions of 2.75% of one's income, or 2.75% of a household income. The minimum contribution per annum the minimum contribution is 300 shillings per month. So basically, the primary healthcare system, one of the things and the challenges we're facing straight away is that there's been underfunding from Parliament. They've not allocated sufficient funds for the fund, so they've only released 4 billion. Whereas at the rate of, say, it is at the rate of 900 shillings per person, they're claiming that they have registered 17 million people under the fund. If you multiply that, it comes to way above that particular figure. But only 4 billion has been approved by the Treasury for the primary health care. So the primary health care basically deals with level 2 and 3 hospitals and
Mm-hmm.
institutions, which are the healthcare centers, maternity homes, sub-district hospitals, that
Mm-hmm.
range. And then we
Yeah.
have so those, and actually that is the busiest. Those are the busiest of all the healthcare institutions. That's where
The
most people
primary
go. Yeah,
the
yeah,
primary healthcare. Yeah, actually,
yeah,
I saw that. Like you're saying that they raised 4 billion. So I think it's 4 billion. If it's 900 times 17 million people registered, we're
yeah,
looking at they only raised less than a quarter of what's needed, less
yeah,
than 25% of what's needed for to cover everybody. It's kind of
yeah,
a worrying situation. That's another crisis that we're facing over here. This year has started with crisis, man. And I'm one of those who have had to use have had to use the hospitals recently because, maybe my mom not well. And you can see the tension in the hospitals. You can see the
yeah,
slow. In fact, what I think I tend to see, because it's even affecting hospitals is a sort of slow, very, very slow service. And I wondered to myself whether it could be a go slow, a type of go slow. They don't seem to have any motivation. They're not motivated. These nurses, doctors, they're not that motivated. You go and complain, they're like, whatever, you know? So you have to be there with your patient. You have to be there, insisting to get their pain medication, insisting you, Anyway, Susan, let me continue. Let me not get into it.
Yeah, so yeah, but you're giving an example, a lived experience, trying to go to the hospital in recent months, and there have been a number of surveys which have been conducted, and it has engaged four different levels or four different associations. Was done between 24th and 31st of December 2024, and it covered 1,500 hospitals and four associations. One was the Rural and Urban Private Hospitals Association. The other one was the Kenya Association of Private Hospitals. And then there's the CHOC, which is the Christian Health. This is now for the some Protestant faith-based churches, faith-based churches who have hospitals. And then there's the Catholic group, the Kenya Conference. They also, were involved in this particular survey. And they said that this survey showed they got 243 responses after cleaning the ones they got. 20% were from faith-based organizations, 3% from Ministry of Health. So of course they were underrepresented. 77% from the private sector. So anyway, what they said is that 65% of private hospitals who have the level 2 and 3, those are the primary healthcare facilities, and 55% of faith-based organizations who have hospitals at level 2 and 3 said that that they had not received, that there was facing some challenges with the system. And also 32% of level 4, 5, and 6, that's the tertiary level, also said they had some challenges with the system. So they were trying to they've been conducting what they call SHA transition surveys. And they found that the group of hospitals that is suffering the most is the ones that need most support. And those are the level 2 and 3 hospitals. And like I said earlier, the statistics show that most people actually do attend those hospitals for primary health care. When we're talking about a level 3 hospital, it includes the maternity homes. And we know that is where, there are a lot of people in this country go to have their children. So those who need the most support are getting the least support. So it seems that the system is quite discriminatory, and it appears that the design of the whole program is sort of flawed in that it's not really meeting the obligations. The design is sort of favoring, is more bent towards those who have than those who do not have. So one of the challenges of the level 2 and 3 people, the people who attend those hospitals, is the requirement that they pay, the capitation requirement. And that one thing, I was listening to the chairman of the social health authority speaking, and he said that this primary healthcare is supposed to be exchequer funded. So, and as we said, and as Queen Mo said, we're only getting, is it a quarter? Because if we calculate, it's about
Less than a
17.
quarter.
Yeah, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
if they're supposed to have 17 billion,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and they've only got 4 billion,
Mm-hmm.
it's like you're saying, it's less than a
Times
quarter.
4 would be 16. So
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
not even there yet. They're
No,
way under. Mm-hmm.
yeah. So there's
Yeah.
grossly underfunded. In fact, if you do the maths and you go and say it's supposed to be 900 per annum per person for the population of Kenya,
Mm-hmm.
right? It will come up to
900
about
shillings. Mm-hmm.
900 for every single person. So if
Mm-hmm.
we say it comes to about 45 billion per annum, and they're only giving 4 billion. So it's even worse when you look at it in terms of
Oh my God.
if the whole of Kenya was supposed to benefit from this. And what is really interesting is for the emergency care you don't
That's
have to be
10%,
registered.
less than 10%. Jeez.
Yeah,
It's
for
like
the
it's not even
emergency care.
funded then.
Yeah, and that's what they were saying. Is that
It's
the
insignificant.
requirement?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the
Mm-hmm.
requirement that the money is coming, the way that they've decided to fund it, could be something that is like what do you call this? A glitch in the design,
Mm-hmm.
because only
Mm-hmm.
4 billion has been approved,
Yeah.
and that's what they have released. So even when one of
Mm.
the things we're talking about is that uh, when we hear reports that certain monies have been paid, because the CEO of SHA said that they had released 5,000 money to 5,000 hospitals. The question,
Mm-hmm.
because these guys are evaluating the
Mm-hmm.
users, health service providers are evaluating through their various associations and saying, okay, how can 5,000 hospitals contracted, how can they have paid 5,000 contracted hospitals when there are only 3,994? So who are the extra 1,000 hospitals, who have been
Maybe
paid?
they're
So
ghost hospitals. Like the way you see they had put signs in front of schools. They, or not even in front of a school, in front of a piece of land. And then they call it the
yeah,
name of a school. Yeah. And that one is actually capitated. Eh? That one is actually budgeted for. So there could be all these fake
imagine.
centers. Yes. It's so unfortunate. We are living in very, 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 very precarious times. Really.
And yet, yeah, and this actually, when you register, when you have a hospital or healthcare facility, it's supposed to be registered. So who are
Mm-hmm.
these people who are paid? So they're saying that some of this information that is being given needs to be fact checked. And even when they said that they had paid a certain amount of money, what happened is that the institutions who received money said less than 10% of what they're owed under NHIF. Now we're talking about the historical debt of
Yeah. The
NHIF.
National Health
Uh,
Insurance Fund. Yeah.
yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
less than 10% was received, and even less than that for the smaller hospitals. So again, this is a system that's not working. It appears that those who I need, there's some lack of equity, notwithstanding the fact that they claim that the new system is supposed to be bringing about equity. So there's
Mm-hmm.
need for them to evaluate the
Mm-hmm.
design of the whole thing, because it seems the idea may be good, but the design seems to be flawed.
Mm-hmm.
One of the reasons we're talking about why they wanted to come up with a new healthcare regime for the nation, was first of
Mm-hmm.
all they said that the National Health Insurance Fund was running like a club, in that there were only few people who are benefiting from it. So this other one was supposed to expand it, and then they also said that some of the services are going to be free, and we can see they are not.
Mm-hmm.
They also said that it is available to all Kenyans. That there's the emergency fund. Actually, the Kenyan government has tried to bring it
Mm-hmm.
yeah. They've tried to bring it they've tried to incorporate that, but you see there's no funding. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a need for them to reevaluate this system.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, where you've gone. You're hanging, Susan. Yes, but anyway, to continue with in the same vein, I saw a report where Kenyan Kenyan mothers, how I think 30 Kenyan women were released from hospital because they were kind of like detained because they hadn't paid their bills. Yeah, Susan, if you can try and unfreeze yourself, or maybe it's me, I don't know. Yeah. All right. All right. Yeah. I think I'm just gonna ask her to remove from stage. All right. Yeah, I think she's gonna come back on again, guys. Okay, but basically what Susan is actually recounting is, this there was a survey, that was conducted in terms of the situation of with Shah in the hospitals. And yes, indeed, it was talking about the state of funding for health and public, for healthcare in public and faith-based hospitals. Yeah. So basically, what it was saying is that there was a survey of Kenyan hospitals, about 1,500 surveys, covering four associations. And what they found is that the government was seriously under, should I say, not compensating the hospitals, and therefore the hospitals were not accepting the cards, the social health insurance cards of patients. They're not accepting them. So you go to the hospital and they refuse to admit you, or they refuse to give you services, even if you have the card. And that is a risk, to yourself, because many of these people are paying directly from the salary. Another thing I saw early in the year, last year, Susan, is that people's salaries are being deducted. The amounts are being deducted to go to the social health authority, but apparently it doesn't actually reach there. So when they go to get services, they see that the deduction is there. But then when they check online to see, excuse me, to see how how much money has been received by the social health authority, it's zero. So it's being deducted by the employer, but it's not actually reaching. That's what they're actually saying. The NHIF was saying that the money is not actually reaching them, which would be completely, not correct, would it be? Anyway,
Yeah.
it's not easy.
Sorry for
Let's put it. Yeah,
disappearing.
it's all right.
Yeah.
It's all right. It
Started to
happens.
rain
It
a bit
happens.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
So
happens. Yeah.
actually, yeah, actually, that was one of the challenges, like you said, with NHIF, the previous,
Mm-hmm.
um, healthcare system, is that the deductions were being made from people's salaries, but there was no remittance. And the people who were not
Correct.
paying
That's right.
actually were the government institutions, the ministries and the agencies and all. They were not remitting the money to NHIF, and that was one of
Mm-hmm.
the things that caused that problem. And in fact,
Mm-hmm.
according to their calculations, there was apparently there was a committee that was set up to do to look at the transition from NHIF now to the SHA.
Mm-hmm.
And that report was never released. Apparently, it was commissioned sometime in February last year, and they never released the report. But some whistleblowers sort of showed parts of the report, or the main body of the report, to now
Mm-hmm.
the service providers, and it
Mm-hmm.
showed that quite a lot of money is owed. Um, they've
Mm-hmm.
acknowledged 15 billion, 15 point something billion, but then they've acknowledged
Wow.
there are about 2 million claims which have been unpaid. And when they did their rough calculations, it was coming to about 29 billion, which has not been paid. So some of the questions these the six surveys are asking, or the surveys are asking, is the health institutions is, are you in financial distress? And they actually are in financial distress. um and it's quite something that needs to be addressed. And what is interesting is that um some of the challenges, or some of the complaints by the users, not the providers, us wananchi,
Mm-hmm.
is that, one, you have to go into your pocket, and that was not your expectation. You have
Mm-hmm.
paid your contribution, and you're not getting services. It's
Mm-hmm.
quicker to pay, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
because it just takes too long
Mm-hmm.
to for the process to go through. I think there's a case in Nakuru where a doctor has actually taken the matter to court because he has
Mm-hmm.
a patient. There's a patient who needs health care, and there was such serious delay. I also listened to one who said it took so long for somebody who needed urgent treatment to get approvals through the system, uh, and things like that. So
Absolutely. The insurance, we've been going through this. You can spend an entire day. We spent an entire, you could be paying insurance. In fact, might not even be employed by the government. You're paying your own insurance to a private insurer. But the private insurer insists that you have to do all the tests as an outpatient, cash. They don't want any
yeah,
tests in inpatient. They don't want to have to incur. They're trying to reduce, trying to reduce their cost. So what's the point of paying insurance if you're going to have to be paying for your tests as an outpatient first before you're even admitted? And then once you're admitted, they'll have to pay for those tests. But the
yeah,
trouble is,
yeah,
they talk about all these pre-approvals and so many things. They make it so
yes,
complicated. So unless
yeah,
you know your kifua, you know you're strong, and you can fight for
yeah,
your patient, you're in big trouble. And these guys are
yeah,
used to getting away with murder, really, literally. They are used to getting away
yeah,
with it. And it's really unfortunate because you see, our healthcare in Kenya has been one of the best in Eastern Africa. We have patients coming in here from Tanzania, Uganda. We are almost like a medical tourism hub. We have
yeah,
presidents who have come here to receive
yeah,
treatment in Kenya. But I'm
mm-hmm,
telling you, if they find a demoralized staff, we'll
yeah,
find that a lot of our staff are going to actually leave the profession. I remember I had a doctor. There was a doctor who was so good, a young man, and he was in casualty, and he was treating me. I remember I traveled abroad. I went, where did I go? I think I was coming from South America. Yeah, one of those Guyana.
yeah,
I think it was Guyana I was coming from, and I was feeling
yeah,
very weak. Yeah, and
yeah,
when you're in a different kind of climate that you've never been in from East Africa all the way, you think that maybe you've maybe caught something, some parasite or something. But actually,
yeah,
I really thought I was completely like really, really sick. But this gentleman, this young man, he just looked at me and said, "You know what you have? You have vitamin B deficiency."
yeah,
And he gave me a vitamin B shot. I don't know what he gave me. I tell you, within
yeah,
2 minutes, I was fine. I was
yeah,
fine. And then he told me, "You know what? You're my last patient because I'm actually getting into piloting. I'm moving professions. I'm no longer going to be a doctor." I said, "Why? How?" And he says, "No, because this was not really my first love. And it's very frustrating. I'm not earning
yeah,
what my colleagues who went to school, people who went to school as pilots are earning 5 times my salary.
yeah,
And yet I spent 5 times the amount of time learning how to be a doctor. So it doesn't make any
yeah,
sense. So I'm going to piloting school. I'm going off to be a pilot." I was like, no way. You see, we're losing so many valuable professionals
yeah,
because of frustrating them, for these kinds of frustrations. So, what do we do in that particular case? Because it's not just about talking and complaining. Maybe what I was thinking is when it comes to solutions, we'll get there. But I guess I'll let you finish first, and then we talk about the
yeah,
solution. Where do we go from here
yeah.
in terms of healthcare? What do we do if these
Definitely,
people
there's
decide
something
to go on
wrong with
strike?
the design. There's something wrong with the design. I think attaining universal healthcare is not easy, and the design has to. They have to go back and look at the design, because if it's under resourced, because we know even the system itself, the digital system itself, has a problem. They had to bring in a fourth player to come in, and at the cost of 1 billion, to work on the digital platforms, because originally there were three partners, and then they had to now bring in another one at the cost of 1 billion. So, and then the other challenge is that they tried to roll it out before it was user ready. I don't think they did any pilot testing, so there was a rush to do it. I heard the president saying that in one of his speeches, saying that the former two presidents failed to achieve this, but he will do it. So for him, I think this could be his flagship achievement to bring about the universal healthcare in Kenya. But you can see is an uphill task, because they haven't got the foundation correct. Um, there's something
You're
it is
being very
fundamentally
polite, Susan. It's not an uphill task. It's failed. In
wrong.
fact, we are universally uncared for. Yes, it was better with the NHIF, and I thought that they
Yeah,
actually reverted back to NHIF. I think they
no, they
have.
won't.
They
No, they
haven't.
won't.
Okay.
They won't.
Okay.
They
We're
won't.
still
They
on.
won't revert back to it. Yeah. If you can see,
Mm,
they've already allocated funds. The 4 billion or whatever. I'm not sure that's been released yet. Um,
yeah.
you
Okay.
know, there's an intention to push the idea forward. Like I said, it seems to be a flagship.
Mm-hmm.
It, this is my assessment from his
Mm-hmm.
statement.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that it's one of those things that he wants to achieve during his time as a president. So I mean, definitely there's that. And when we're talking about that, there's the mental health of the doctors who are doing this, the medical officers, the nurses. I was
Mm-hmm.
listening to them saying that because of this crisis, the distress that the healthcare institutions are facing,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes the nurses are being kicked out of their homes because they're not able to pay rent, and so they ask now for a space in the hospital for them to sleep because they can't.
Mm-hmm.
They're being kicked out of their rental homes. So
Mm-hmm.
when the payment when the system's not working, there's a trickle effect. It's causing poverty and it's causing distress. And of
Mm-hmm.
course, when you have distress, we have other emerging issues like mental health. We have other things like domestic violence occurring. For what that could be a trigger to it,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because of some of the stresses in the home.
Mm-hmm.
um, Although this is unrelated, I was, like we're talking about what is happening in 2025. I read,
Mm-hmm.
I followed a story where this lady, she'd argued with her husband somewhere in
Mm-hmm.
Kisii. She argued with her husband and she set her two babies on fire inside the house and took off.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I've also seen some stories like that even in the West, even in the US, where the spouses argue and the wife, uh, you know, unalives the children.
Yes, there's a lot of reports of those, Susan. I also saw a lady whose husband apparently she had a 9 month old. She's a young girl. I can call her a young woman. Yeah, very young woman, maybe in her early 20s. Her husband argued with her. No, her husband cheated on her,
Yeah,
and she unalived herself and her child, the two of them.
yeah.
Can you
Now that's
imagine?
familicide. Yeah,
nine
it's
month
terrible.
old. Yes,
And then
there's
in
a
the
lot of
US,
domestic violence right now. Domestic problems in the homes right now.
yeah, in the US,
Chaos.
there was a guy in a queue in the post office, and I think somebody jumped the queue, and
Hmm.
and he unalived the person. You know,
Just imagine. People
there's
are on
so
a
much
short fuse
rage.
right now. Hmm.
Yeah, mental health
People are on a very
concerns
short
and stuff
fuse.
like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, also the stories of the mass unaliving, the people driving into crowds of people using the vehicles
Oh,
to,
yeah.
there have been
Hmm.
some incidents, some reports like that in the US. Really horrifying stories.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
and it's something of some concern. It
You
looks
also
like we're
saw,
getting in. Hmm.
yeah, you also saw the report of the MD, I think the managing director or the CEO of one of these
Yeah.
insurance companies. That was
Yes.
actually, yeah, he was shot and killed. Yeah,
Yeah.
in New York,
There's
was
the
it?
guy was
Yes,
arrested. Yeah. Some
yes,
Luigi
yes.
or something like that.
Because
Yeah.
of the issue
But
of claims. Yeah. And it makes everybody very nervous and jittery about that because you see, insurance companies, and this is insurance. You see, the what we're discussing here is also insurance in Kenya.
yeah. Yeah.
If people are contributing to an insurance fund, they expect to use it and they expect their claims to be approved and
Yeah.
to be able to use the services and to claim. But unfortunately, if you have a very high deductible or that kind of thing, then it becomes useless. It becomes very difficult when people have end up in this. That's the whole idea of insurance, to look after you, because you're not sure, to take care of your needs when you least expect
Yeah.
to be in a situation. Yeah. But anyway, yeah.
I think
So
I
then, of
think anyway, universal healthcare is not easy to achieve because I was just thinking
course
about
it's not.
the
It's not.
Obamacare, even the experience of the United States with health coverage. Also, the is it NHS in England,
Yes,
uh,
yes, yes. Mm-hmm.
National Health Services. I mean, they're not
Yes.
If I recall correctly, the NHS is also not very efficient. You have to wait months and months before you see a doctor, even when
Even
you're in
years.
need. Yeah,
Yeah.
even when you're
Mm.
in serious need, you're given
Yeah.
an appointment, which, and so it means either you have to go into your pocket, you'll end up, having to pay for the care, and despite you being entitled you know, to the
You're
national
entitled to it
health
because
care.
you've been paying your NI, national insurance. It's cut off your
Yeah,
salary. It's as if,
yeah,
we are doing this cut and paste based on what's happening in the West, but it doesn't work.
yeah,
Maybe we should be looking at different countries like China. Maybe we should be looking at those countries and not be, copying what's going on in the Western countries, these European countries, America, because it's failing. It's not working for them. So why would we be trying to copy, cut and paste what they're doing? Yeah. They don't always know
yeah.
better than us. They don't. They
And
don't.
it's pegged to employment. It's pegged to employment, because if you're going to contribute, if you're going to make households, going to say that you are supposed to pay a certain amount of money, and people in the household can't get jobs,
Hmm.
because the environment is not conducive for
Hmm.
them to get jobs. We were talking about it last session when we were saying that uh,
Hmm.
companies, at least 20 big companies, have left the country. And there's so
Hmm.
many, over almost 2,000 people unemployed as a result of that.
Not even 20, Susan.
Here
They're
in Kenya,
200. 200.
200 companies, yeah.
Hmm. Hmm.
We-
Yeah.
You know, and so
Hmm.
these are the same. Imagine now, these are the same people who are supposed to contribute to shift,
Hmm.
you know,
Yeah.
how they're going to contribute to shift, even as a household, when they're struggling to get jobs. And so you just end up with
Yeah,
people,
we're in a very precarious situation. What's interesting is that a lot of people will try to quickly shut you up and say, if you people don't have the money, don't assume that everybody else doesn't have it. But the thing
oops.
is, if you do, you're one of the very, very few. You're the minority. You're not the majority of Kenyans. Yeah. Right now
Yeah.
is a very bad time. Children's, in fact, the children resuming school has been delayed until the 13th. I believe it was.
So it has been
They're supposed to
delayed.
have gone back to school. Huh?
Yeah,
Yes,
some
it's
have
been
gone.
delayed. They're supposed to be going back
Okay.
on the 13th. I mean, they're supposed to have gone back much earlier. Usually children go back by the 7th or, at least a week early. They have been
It
delayed by
was.
another week.
Mhm.
This is a cost to
it,
parents right now. Many parents I saw on TikTok, parents are being told to pick up their phones, especially, baby daddies. They're being told, hey, you know what? You took your child for Christmas and had a good time, but remember to pick up your phone when your girlfriend or your baby mama calls because she needs school fees, she needs to buy uniform, and you're not picking the phone. It's because, many of these men cannot provide. They don't have jobs. And for men, it affects them in a different way compared to women. Because sometimes I say to myself, so maybe you don't have a job. So what about the mother? What about if she doesn't have a job? Yeah, I received a phone call was it just the day before yesterday from a woman who has a child who has a special needs. Actually, the child, I think, has hydrocephalus, so he has to be going to the hospital often. And she's asking me for a job for herself and her husband. And I actually linked them up. I did link them up, to somebody that I know who might be able to offer them. And I think that man is probably going to be lucky and get something. Even if it's just, it's a blue collar job. It's not very high wages, but at least it's at minimum wage. And this is
mm,
now women looking for jobs for their husbands. I mean, it's really rare to hear a woman call and say, please, can you help my husband get a job? A woman calling another woman. It's rare. It's really rare to hear that. But anyway, it just goes to show how difficult it is right now for people. And for people who are struggling right now with their jobs, whether they remember, we have Louis is still looking for a job. I want Louis to know that we're still thinking about him, even if he's not on with us today. We want him to know that we're still remembering him and thinking about him when it comes to jobs. For those of you guys who have sick children, I've seen on TikTok young women with children who are special needs or who are very sick, and they're sitting by their bedsides raising funds from the public on TikTok, on social media. and saying today there was one lady who was, I think her child has got hives of syphilis, and she's showing a picture, and she says, guys, we're in the hospital, we still have this bill to pay, we're not going to be released if we don't pay this bill, or the child is not going to access this medication. Please raise. And the good thing with Kenyans is that we're very generous people, very caring. And I could hear that the money was going up from 16,000 to, I don't know, 18,000. So she was receiving some funds through M-Pesa, through mobile money. But ideally, this is not the way it should be. Can you imagine if
Mhm.
everybody in Europe did that? People in those countries, they don't even have a culture of helping each other. But at least in Africa, we do have that culture of helping each other. But when you look at the need, now every single woman with a special needs child is online now, asking for money, asking for support. But that's the only way that they can support their children. They don't have the job. Before, it never used to be like that. They don't have the job, and also the shift shy is not working.
Yeah, in
So
fact,
I,
I saw there were
mm,
some 40 women,
uh-huh,
maternity in a maternity home,
yes.
maternity
Hmm.
health center, who were
Mm,
recently cleared. I mean, they were released from the healthcare facility because the county just paid them their maternity fees, but
bill.
they've been held due to
Hmm.
lack of payment of fees in the hospital. About 40 or something like that. There were quite a few of them. I can't remember
Hmm.
which county it is, but it was in the
Hmm.
news
Hmm.
here in Kenya.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, well, that is the situation with our healthcare, guys. That is where we are. Thank you, Susan, for that nice summary. I hope you're not stuck again over there. It looks like your computer is hanging. Today is just the day, you guys. Oh, while Susan's computer hangs, let's talk about another issue that we're facing right now, which is the issue of fires. Have you guys heard about the fires? Yeah, the fires that are going on. Oh boy, I think I need to show you my screen. I need to share my screen with you. And Susan, you might have to get off because I know you can hear me, and then come back on. Yeah? Let me see if I can remove you from stage and then you come back on. Yeah. All right. So Susan will be coming back on. But in the meantime, guys, I want you to see what's going on. Right now, I know that California has declared a state of emergency. Yeah. And it's really sad when you see this. Uh, yeah. Here we go. Let me see if I can show it to you guys on my screen. Let me share the screen with you.
Start tonight with breaking news and a growing fire in Southern California. I want to show you a live look at the fast moving Palisades fire tonight. You see all the first responders there on scene, the lights off in the distance. It started this morning in the hillsides of LA, and several homes are now destroyed. Just moments ago, Governor Gavin Newsom declared a state of emergency because of that fire. 26,000 people have been forced to evacuate. High winds are driving the flames not far from Santa Monica.
10,000 homes are now threatened. The city of Los Angeles declaring a state of emergency through this wind event. Officials say there's no way to get a handle on the fire under current conditions, and the worst of the windstorm is still to come.
Feel very blessed at this point that there's no injuries that are reported. We do have reports of multiple structures that are damaged. Since the beginning of this fire,
People trying to escape the fire abandoned their vehicles on the roads. The firefighters were forced to use bulldozers to push those cars out of the way so they can battle the flames. You can see ongoing Palisades fire coverage on the free ABC 10 Plus streaming TV app. And Monica, a big concern with this fire is not necessarily its size, but its densely populated location, right?
It certainly is. Yeah, you're right about that. As you can see here, Los Angeles in the thick of things as we look at this red flag warning. Now, the fire is burning a little bit closer to the coast, and the smoke, because of those offshore Santa Ana winds, is moving into the Pacific. So we're not too concerned right now, except right in the heart of that fire from the smoke. But we have a particularly dangerous situation. So we take a red flag warning and we up it one level because of extremely critical fire weather. That includes Los Angeles and Ventura counties. We're expecting the peak of those winds to happen late tonight through early tomorrow morning with wind gusts 50 to 80 miles per hour, much less and downgraded category for us with our wind advisory in place until tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. We've seen peak wind gusts at about 30 to 35 miles.
Yes, let me add Susan back to the stage. So that's the situation in California right now, where we have uh, raging fire, very strong and high winds, people trying to run away from, it's a very expensive, one of the most, I think it's Palisada, they call it, a very expensive area where, the Hollywood stars live, people with a lot of money. And they have had to abandon their cars on the road and run for their lives. If there's anything, they were talking initially that initially it had only covered, I think, something like about 80 kilometers or 80 miles or something like that. And then after that, it went to like 200. Then eventually it went to 700. Then it went to over 1,000. So it was spreading so fast. The fire was spreading so fast. And for you guys who are stuck in that environment, or for those people who were there, we want you to know that these are the types of calamities that this year is bringing us, and we all have to be aware that fire insurance is not going to save you on this day. You need to know how to run for your life. I don't know what happened to early warning systems. Whatever happened to that? Yeah, you would have expected in a country like the US that they should have early warning systems for such things. Yeah. What do you think, Susan? For
There
anyone who's
could be
living in
some
the US,
sort of
maybe you can give us a little
complacency.
bit of an update. Yeah. Sorry, Susan. Go
Maybe
ahead.
I'm just saying maybe there could be some complacency. We're just speculating here because it has not happened. So the
Yeah.
systems have not been tested. They've not done the drills. They've not done the
Mm-hmm.
check this and
Mm-hmm.
that because the
Mm-hmm.
likelihood doing the stats is very unlikely to happen. So it's
Mm-hmm.
likely that possibly there was some complacency, and now um,
Yeah.
being reactive is not always good. It's better to be prepared. And I think what we're learning from this is that the weather patterns are so unpredictable. We
Yep.
should envisage any type of changes and any type of things that will affect. In Kenya here, we have the blocked drains.
Mm-hmm.
The buildings coming and blocking riverways and stuff
Mm-hmm.
like that, which is causing
Mm-hmm.
flooding and knocking down buildings and stuff like that. So we need to be more exercise more foresight, I think.
Yeah.
And our city planners and all those guys who are in charge of where buildings are put and what drains need to be there, our civil engineers, I think we really need to relook at these things. The weather
Yeah.
patterns, I
Okay,
think,
let me
all
share.
over the world have been so
Yeah.
unpredictable.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
I've got a lot of videos to share. So now I'm going to also share my screen again, guys. Take a look at this.
To finally start covering the fire.
Let me start
Y'all,
over.
this is California this morning. Tell me that this right here does not look like a mirror image of something that we've seen recently in our past. And further, journalists and other people have said they have never in their life seen fire behave the way it did right here. This has to have been one of the worst fires that California has ever seen. I'm about to show you what it looked like this morning when the sun was coming up. We're about to go over this too in 1 minute. Do you guys know how long, like literally how long it took the news to finally start covering the fire? They didn't cover it for hours while it was going on. This right here was the sunrise this morning in California. Like, look behind me. This is just insane. This right here is what you would picture Revelation chapter 6, seal 6 would look like, right? When the sun goes dark, when the blood, we know it's the sun, but still. Also, in 532 AD, when the whole entire world was plunged into darkness. Yeah, that really happened, and it lasted 18 months. And the writer of the History of Wars wrote that men were free neither from pestilence nor any kind of unaliving at that time. And I don't think this is California, but this is what happened a few days before this thing happened. I'm pretty sure that's not the sun, y'all. It's kind of hard to believe that this right here is the same world that we lived in a few years ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. And just like you said, Susan, complacency. You can see that the news took a long time. They took a long time before they actually reported on those fires. Yeah, he said it there. They took a very long time before they reported on the fires, because that means that the early warning system wasn't really in place. And that's how so many people got stuck on the highways over there. They were being told to run towards the ocean, towards the sea. Yeah. But the wind was blowing in so many different directions. Oh my God. Actually, California is in a state of emergency. And I think California, Florida, they county states, those states are kind of dangerous, I think, to live in. I don't know. And then I saw in the comment section over there, people were saying, oh, that's the reason why we don't live in that area, that specific area. And then, a little bit of, can we say, insensitive remarks? A lot of insensitive remarks, because these are the homes of the super rich, super wealthy. And it was kind of weird to see those kinds of remarks, insensitivity. Yeah, and then
It's
okay,
somebody's
so
home.
uh-huh.
It's somebody's home. It's like in the Kisumu area, the flooding of the river. Is
Mm-hmm.
it Ahero and
Yes.
the
Uh-huh.
plains there where it
Yeah.
floods? I mean, those are people's
Mm-hmm.
homes. Their generations and generations of their families have lived in those spaces,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
you can't just be so insensitive about somebody's home, you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
but definitely, I think all round we've seen just really, really strange weather patterns,
Yeah.
very,
Yeah.
very
Let me
strange,
yeah.
unexpected uh,
Mm-hmm.
weather, freezing cold, very hot summers. I think in the West, very hot summers. People
Mm-hmm.
suffering from heat stroke and all that. Things that
Yeah.
effects of severe weather. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's
Yeah.
just something that I think we all need. Our emergency care, our early warning systems. We have to look out for all of it. I
Yeah.
think that we had a surprise. Is it a year or two ago, or
Just
recently
last
in
year,
Kenya,
Susan,
where
the floods. Yeah. Let
about
me
the
share something
snow?
else about the fog now. I'm going to
Yeah,
cut you short because I want to share a couple of videos. We just have to comment just 1 second before I've got so many videos to share. Because I want to be moving from the wildfires to the fog. Okay. I would like to just share with you a few TikTok videos, videos that I've been, trying to show you guys so that you see what
Video from a USA
I
national.
hope you
He
can
says he's
hear.
41 years old. It's something he's never witnessed before. And conspiracy theorists and even science, they're saying, you know what, it's a strange transition to 2025, and this has created even attention from the aviation agencies. They're saying it's creating, visibility issues. So aviation operations will be brought to a halt. There's traffic ampers as well. I was watching CNN last night. They were talking about a heavy looming traffic ampers that's going to happen for the better part of tomorrow until as the week progresses on. They're even issuing out toll charges. If you want to evade traffic and arrive to your destination faster, they even issued for small trunks, small cars, and everything. So it's crazy. In China, there's a strange viral, disease that has overwhelmed the health facilities in that country. They even they called on the CDC to ascertain and issue a directive and a report. What is the name of this viral disease? And they're saying if this makes it to the USA, UK, or just, the way flights are making in and out of entry into countries during this festive season as people are making a comeback. They're waiting, I think, for a directive from the World Health Organizations as well, alongside their country's CDC. And they're saying they're overwhelmed. They can't contain the viral disease. And hospitals are full of patients.
Mm-hmm.
In New York, I think there's a directive that has been issued. They're calling it the quadendemic. That's what I think. Is it the Guardian or Metropolitan or Wired or Fast Post or New York Mag? They're calling it a quadendemic. So they're urging people to start using face masks, right?
Mm-hmm.
To prevent themselves. And on 21st to 25th of January this year, planets are going to realign, meaning that they're going to shift from their normal galaxy. And it will be evident with your normal eye. You'll not need binoculars or any other machine to view it.
Mm-hmm.
This means that they're shifting from the original galaxy. And scientists are saying this is something that's never been witnessed before since the formation of this planet. That's not normal. That's breaking news. 21st to 25th. Venus, Mars, all those planets that they're going to, even planet Earth, right? And yesterday I shared with you a report. It was shared by Fast Post. It was on a newscast TV. They're saying they discovered a new sun. They're calling it just a star, Saturn. There is Saturn, Pluto, Mars, Venus.
Mm-hmm.
They're saying there's another sun different from the sun that's shining on planet Earth. And that's why, if you're very keen, last year, every space exploration agency, they have their rockets just rotating. And the Telegraph reported the most polluted place ever is in space. And I was just wildly thinking that UFO material, that 500 kg, that's half a ton. If it would have fallen and hit a KQ flight that was airborne, that's 300 people dying. A plane falling from the sky, like a UFO, with over 400 people on board, dead, gone. And this is some of the things that you're going to constantly see in 2025 here. And I wonder why this information is not privy to Kenyans, right? There's a lot of debris material in the galaxy. Because they're fearing there's a looming. In fact, in the congressional hearing they did last year with an ex-Navy, ex-CIA, and a NASA as well, they've done research for over 20, 30 years since they began their mission explorations. They're saying they discovered technology that's beyond what we use right here on planet Earth, and it's being run by forces that cannot be contained by human beings. And that's why you're seeing countries, Russia, Ukraine, China, they are showcasing their nuclear weapons and facilities. Even the USA, it's like they're preparing for some sort of World War III that's going to happen in 2025. And this information is not privy to Kenyans. I don't know why. Why, guys? I think, lastly, a large chunk of Kenyan youth population, they're ignorant about science and spirituality. And that is the DNA that powers and runs humanity. So I'm calling upon you guys to research, read, and also pray about it and receive revelation, because it's also spiritual. I don't know why people are not ready. Or maybe because we have so many predicaments happening right here in Kenya. By the time you're recovering and maneuvering from your doldrums of oblivion, the others already ended. You're in a different galaxy. So I'm calling upon you guys to find out what is this? What's happening? Go check out my video called The Apocalypse of Tech. The godfathers of AI are saying it's going to wipe out and change everything and humanity in the next 30 years. Elon Musk says in the next 40 years, a lot is going to happen. No human beings, more robots. There's a summit that was held last year. Purely over 100 million robots. They're looking at how they can replace, because there's an impending force. They're calling it the return of aliens in 2027. I remember the scientists saying, I don't know why. So find out, guys, because 2025, it's wild, dumbfounding, bizarre.
We're in trouble, oh. Listening to him and the way he summarized that. I hope it was clear to you guys. It's, it's just like dumbfounding, like he said, bizarre. Totally. I heard last year that they said that there were actually 2 moons. I didn't hear about the 2 suns. I heard about the 2 moons. Yeah. And I think just the other day I was outside and I actually saw the moon, and right next to it was a planet. I thought it was just a regular star, but that star was shining so bright. Apparently, it was I told her it was like Mars or something. I don't know which one it was, but it's a planet right next to the moon at night. If you guys are very observant, and what was so beautiful, I wish that I had a very strong camera, is that what was so amazing was that I then just when I looked up, I saw an aeroplane passing, like next to it. Of course, they're very far, but just the artistry. Somebody with a good camera would have captured something very amazing, the way that plane went across with the lights, and then there's a moon and there's a star shining so bright next to it. It was just amazing. And like what he's saying, I did listen to Elon Musk today. Elon Musk actually said that we need to be prepared for multiple planet occupation, that we should actually be residential in multiple planets, not just one. Because he said in at some point something may happen to Earth. And he said, hopefully not soon. He doesn't want to scare people. But what is it that these people know that we don't know, And when he talked about, the virus that's going on in China, yes, there is a virus in China. Masks are back. The mask mandate looks like it's back because actually when I went to the hospital yesterday, I saw that all the doctors and all the nurses and all the professionals are wearing masks. I even have my own mask. I even came back with it, by the way. I have my own mask because my mom was like, hey, you people, you need to wear masks over here. This place is very whatever. So there's this virus. It's called the human metapneumovirus, HMPV, in China. But they say that officials are yet to confirm it. Instead, official reports from the Chinese Center for Disease Control and prevention indicate that rates of multiple flu-like illnesses are on the rise in China, according to data up to the last week of 2024. So the data is suggesting that influenza is leading the outbreak, okay, with 30.2% of tests coming back positive for it. An increase, whatever, they talk about that. But anyway, it's some sort of pneumonia, it's some sort of flu-like virus that's overwhelming the hospitals in China. There we are. So, and then of course you also heard about the fog, and you've seen also about that fog. Susan, you want to say something
Yeah,
quick before we move on to
yeah,
the next thing?
I saw a video.
Mm.
The Ministry of Health is saying that Kenya has not been affected by it, but
Mhm.
I also shared a video with you that there were reports that there's a new virus which is
Uh-huh.
COVID-like, but not
Yes.
as severe. But
Mhm.
the Kenya Medical Health Ministry of Health is saying that it's not here yet. But like
Mhm.
you said, it's better to err on the side of caution.
Mhm.
We know how we were devastated by COVID. Many of
Yeah.
us, people are still suffering as a result of it.
Mhm.
So let's just take care, guys.
Yeah. Definitely. Thank you, Susan. So let me share this other one. That's a perfect response right there. Let me present this other one. You know the reason why I'm showing you my screen, you guys? It's because I don't want to get a copyright strike by downloading these videos. If I do that, I can end up with a copyright strike. And anyway, it's easier to show them when they're in this format. Let me go in here and
the 23rd of December.
Let's go to the
Is it just me,
beginning.
or is that not normal? Can someone explain to me why in Manchester we've had nothing but fog for 4 days now? 4 days in a row. Normally, just behind these buildings, I can see for miles out of my window, but I haven't been able to see past these buildings here, barely seeing this main road since the 23rd of December. It's now the 27th. And I know what fog is, and I've seen fog before, but I don't think ever in my life I have seen fog like this, like a blanket covering for 4 days in a row. And it's not even like it's disappeared and then come back. It's literally just been like this constantly since the 23rd of December. Is it just me, or is that not normal? I mean, if it wasn't for the lights there and the headlights, I probably wouldn't be able to see that road at all. Earlier on today, genuinely couldn't see a thing. I literally feel like I live in a Stephen King film. But yeah, it's pretty weird. Has anyone else ever seen this before? Has anyone else ever seen 4 days, even longer, of fog continuously? Get it in the comments, but yeah.
Okay. Yeah, continuous fog. Actually, that would be very frightening for me because I love the sun. You know, we're sun people, by the way. We Africans are sun people, but I think everybody in the world is a sun person in a way. We're used to at least some sun. I remember when I went to school in the US and Minnesota specifically, I used to sit by the window because the sun would come through really bright and shiny and hit the window every single day. Even if it was cold and a bit foggy, I'd go to school when it's really misty in the morning. And when I get to the library, the sun is there and I'm sitting waiting for it. And you get warm, even if you're on the inside, not like outside, even if you're on the inside. So can you imagine 4 continuous days of no sunshine at all? I would think the end of the world has arrived. I would. It's almost like the eclipse. Have you seen the eclipse of the sun? Whenever there's an eclipse, if there's anything that I fear more than the eclipse, it's because of the way it blocks the sun and it gets so, so, so cold. Yeah. So that's another one too. I'm gonna show you guys a whole stream of different videos because I think they're interesting when you see them from the horse's mouth. When you hear it from the horse's mouth, it's more interesting. Yeah.
As you do that, remember the snow. We were saying we were experiencing snow in Nyahururu area,
Yes,
in
yes.
Rift Valley. When we're
Yeah.
talking about those extreme differences in weather, and it was just so astounding to see because here in Kenya, the only snow we see is on the cap of Mount Kenya. We don't see it for sure, but it looked
True.
like snow. It looked like
Yeah.
snow. And then these huge hailstones, really big stones, So we
Yeah,
we really experience a lot of extreme weather.
we have. Okay, let's see this one. It's true, we have experienced extreme weather. Let's see if I get the full screen here, and I'm always a bit slow. Come on, hurry up. I wish I was a Gen Z. I'd be faster. Hold on. Thank you for waiting, guys.
Issued by the Met Office. The yellow alert comes as temperatures plummeted across Greater Manchester on Tuesday night, January 7th. Tram lines were disrupted, causing severe delays for some commuters, while drivers faced tricky conditions on Wednesday morning, January 8th. Some schools also closed due to the weather, while a yellow warning for ice remained in force across the region until midday. A new yellow weather warning for snow comes into force at 3 a.m. on Thursday, January 9th, lasting until midday. The warning includes Wigan and the western fringes of Greater Manchester. Follow for more.
On a lighter note, I've also been seeing a lot of TikTok videos of Africans who are stuck over there in the West, in Europe, especially in the UK. One guy was like, I wasn't made for this weather. Okay. And there's also a white South African who was like, I'm scared to go out. I feel like I'm going to die. I wasn't made for this weather. She's South African. And in the comment section, because I love reading comments, people were saying, British people, white British were saying, we were not made for this weather and we're scared to go out. We also think we're going to go and die. It's actually not even a laughing matter, because you see, there was this guy who actually called. I don't know, he called, I think, a service anyway, and he was crying. He's like, oh, me and my dog, we're going to die. We're going to die of cold. Because you see, what has happened is that the Labour government has reduced benefits for, winter fuel. They call it the winter fuel payment benefit. They've actually scrapped it for the elderly. Can you believe it? And these are people who are on pensions, and their pensions are very, very small. So there are people, I remember over there, so some people only heat up one particular room, and they live there the whole winter. Only one room in their house. Only one. Maybe it's their bedroom, and that is where they cook, that is where they eat, that is where in fact, they don't even cook because they can't afford to. Now, that is what you call energy poverty. And it makes you think that you're in Africa, you should be very grateful where we are. We are somewhere where the sun is shining and we don't have those extra expenses. Yeah, what do you think, Susan?
Certainly, I remember when I was, in the UK, that those winters could be really, really, really cold. And I remember one time meeting somebody, and I could not believe it was actually an experience that I can't forget. I mean, she was wearing a light sweater and slippers and holding a baby. And this was on one of the main streets in London. And she was asking for money, and I mean, I was freezing. I was covered from head to toe, and I couldn't imagine what she was experiencing, So those extreme weather conditions, I think, in fact, one of the things that struck me was that I noticed that people wear really dull colored clothes in the winter, and it's so gloomy. So our clothes, the fashion, even the fashion designers, the clothes reflect the weather. So you have all these grays and blacks and, really dull,
That's true.
different shades of blues. And then when it's summer, all the bright colors come out, and they start coming out during spring. And then you have these autumn colors, so your clothes are matching the seasons. So I'm just wondering, and I remember reading a report that people suffer depression during the winter. And I was thinking, what if people wore bright clothes during the winter? Do you think it would reduce the depression? Because you're indoors, it's too cold to go outside. Wear lots of bright clothes to make you happy.
Let's share our experiences here. I lived in the US, in Minnesota, which was even colder than the UK by far. Freezing cold. Minus 20-degree wind chill factor. But I never felt as cold in the US as I felt in the UK. Because the UK doesn't, it doesn't do a good job of heating the homes. The homes are old, the heating systems are old, and so it's not efficient. and it's super expensive. In the US, especially like in Minnesota, it's actually the law that they have to heat. You can literally walk in your house with shorts. It feels like summer in the house. But try that in the UK. In the UK, you're in your bedroom, freezing in your bed with a winter coat and hat. Hey, Louis is here. Hi, Louis. How are you doing? What are you saying here? I need to get my glasses here so I can read what Louis is saying. I'm always excited when I see Louis here. Um, Louis says December 2024 was the warmest December I can remember living my whole life in Texas. Really? You're living in Texas? You're smart. Hmm? And then he said, Inuit is a group of indigenous people in northern Canada and parts of Greenland and Alaska. The Inuit people report a pole shift due to the stars being in the wrong place in the sky. Really? The Inuit people have navigated using natural markers such as the sun and stars for generations. Oh my God. So, what is the impact of that, Louis? Does that mean that these people won't be able to navigate where they're living? Actually, that's kind of dangerous because I can imagine that might also affect animals. If the planets shift, that might actually affect the migration planet of animals, like you're saying here. Because if the indigenous people use the stars for navigation, they'll be going the wrong direction. they'll be going. They'll be going. It's not funny, but I mean, can you imagine what would happen? Huh? Oh my God. Yeah, he says that they have navigated using natural markers such as the sun and the stars for generations. So what happens? Yeah, what happens then when they can't do that anymore? Yeah. Okay, let's move over to Tibet, guys, and let's find out what's going on there. In Tibet, they've been having another. Did you guys hear about the earthquake
Earthquake.
that killed
Yeah.
that killed
7.1?
so many
7.1.
people?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see about that one now. You forgive me with my slowness here. Yeah, so many people have died from earthquake. Oh my God, it's so sad. Here we are. Just looking at my screen, guys. I'm sharing my screen. Yeah. Oh God, where's the sound now?
Powerful earthquake struck a remote region of A powerful earthquake rocks a remote region of Tibet and parts of Nepal, killing at least 95. At least 95 people have been killed after a powerful earthquake struck a remote region of Tibet on Tuesday morning, with tremors felt across the Himalayas in neighboring Nepal, Bhutan, and parts of northern India. The 7.1 magnitude quake struck at 9:05 a.m. local time at a depth of 10 kilometers and was followed by multiple aftershocks, according to the United States Geological Survey. The energy unleashed by the tectonic movement toppled houses in remote Himalayan villages, rocked a nearby Tibetan holy city, and rattled visitors to a Mount Everest base camp. Its epicenter, located in Tingri County high on the Tibetan Plateau, was close to the border with Nepal, around 50 miles north of the world's highest mountain. At least 130 people were injured in the quake, local authorities said at a news conference on Tuesday afternoon. More than 1,000 houses were damaged in Tingri County, state news agency Xinhua reported. The tremors were felt as far as Kathmandu, Nepal's capital. It was very strong. People came running out of their houses. You could see the wires from poles shaken loose, said Bishal Nathupredi from the Nepal Center for Disaster Management, a non-government organization in Kathmandu. In Tibet, rescue teams, including the Chinese Air Force, have joined in search efforts, state broadcaster CCTV reported. Later, it said the first batch of more than 200 Chinese military soldiers had been deployed to Tingri County, with 1,500 more on standby. 3 villages had lost their phone signals by noon, according to the broadcaster. To search for survivors, immigration police officers were seen digging through rubbles with bare hands, according to social media videos posted by China's National Immigration Administration. The footage showed a village full of collapsed houses and crumpled walls, with some residents sitting on blankets on the roadside sipping hot water to stay warm. A total of 49 aftershocks were recorded as of noon Monday, according to the China Earthquake Network Center.
Okay, apart from the music, that sounds like Little House on the Prairie, yeah? Fact is, a 10-kilometer deep, can you imagine? 10-kilometer deep Wow, that must have had a huge impacts. I saw another video where people holding each other and the whole building just literally toppled over. And you can imagine the cold in countries like these ones. Yeah? Tibet. Oh my God. Yeah. It's so scary to imagine what's going on in the world. So the question we're asking is this another year of crisis? Listen, we haven't even finished this January yet. Are we even in mid-January yet? Not even. We're not even on the 15th of January. And already all of these things are going on. We have the fog. We have so much going on. It's actually kind of scary. Oops, I think I'm running over time. Am I, Susan? I'm running over time. We might
Yeah,
have to
yeah, yeah. It's
continue. Yeah,
1:20.
I didn't realize that
Yeah,
we've actually run over time. Yeah. So I'm just going to show
yeah.
one more video and then we'll continue this subject next time because it's rather a long one. Okay. We're just showing, we're showing the earthquake and then the next time we'll talk about, the lack of confidence that people have in people in the leadership in different countries. That is another big issue that we're going to be facing, but we'll talk about that next time because I can see we're running out of time. Susan's very polite. She usually would not tell me off usually, but she should. Susan, how come I don't hesitate to tell you, but you don't tell me? Hmm? That doesn't make
With
sense.
different personality.
Yeah. Oops, 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 oops. Hmm. You just look at that house, the way it just came off like that and went. It's like a cake. It just, just like somebody lifted it up and put it and placed it on the ground again. Wow, 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 wow. We're very lucky. We're very lucky that we live in this area where we don't experience this kind of earthquakes. But you know that Africa is splitting in two? The continent of Africa is splitting. And I saw that even the US shouldn't be so proud. They're also splitting. Many continents are not going to be like this in the next 100 years, I think. We know that our continent is splitting, and there's some parts of our country where there are these very, very deep gorges, and they do have tremors. Like when we had the floods last year, there was some tremors, and many buildings were shaking. So yes, we have experienced that within the Rift Valley area. So all we can say is that, how do you face it head on? I think a lot of prayer and listening to early warning systems, being aware of where you're living and where you're traveling. If you have a job that makes you travel, I think to check and see whether there's any early warning systems about the weather, and just keep up. Yeah, be aware of what's happening. Don't bury your head in the sand and forget about your environment, because sometimes we can be walking with our heads down, stressed by life, and not be aware that we have so many dangers facing us. This is a time that we need to be very alert. And another group of people who are very good at warning us are birds and animals. I think we should look at migration patterns of birds and listen to them and watch wildlife, those of us who live near wildlife, because they can also be a good early warning system for us. What do you think, Susan? Yeah. So that's all I have to say for
Definitely.
tonight. We're gonna
Yeah.
actually, yeah, we're gonna actually close the show for tonight because it's a bit late. We started a bit late. It's past
Hmm.
midnight here in Nairobi, and
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's time for many of us to retire for the night. But we will continue the subject. Yes,
Yeah.
we'll continue the subject,
I
and
just.
mhm.
Mhm. I just wanted to say in closing that I think a whole discussion, although we've talked about many different things, I think the underlying discussion has been about planning, being prepared, about um, you know, um, looking forward and looking ahead and looking and to see whether how well we can prevent and protect ourselves. When we talk about resilience and disaster management and resilience and all that, we need to expand our thinking, I think, all over. about what are the possibilities and how should we prepare people to to respond. Like Maureen has talked about indigenous knowledge, watching the leaves, the way the plants are bending, the way the grass looks and stuff like that, would really help us to get all this knowledge and bring it to the table, so it would help us to really understand. And as Mo said, let's also keep in prayer, continue to pray for one another, and and just be more vigilant and caring and plan.
Absolutely. Vigilant and caring. That means that if you can extend a helping hand to, instead of laughing at people whose big houses have burnt out there in California, offer a place for people to stay. People are going to be homeless, man, and this is winter. People are going to be homeless. I think it's time to extend a helping hand to your people. And when you find other people staying with you, you also learn from them. You never know who you'll be inviting into your home, really. So as long as you've done a background check and found that they're not mass murderers, you could invite people to your home and give people some shelter, or if not do that, at least maybe contribute. If there's some funds, a pot of funds where people are contributing, we do that. We do that very well here in Kenya. We help each other through what we call the Harambe effort, where we pool resources together and help each other. So I think we need to do that more. And we are now a world that is so, what do we say? We're like a global village. So even those people out there in Nepal and everywhere, if there was a pot of money that they could ask the world to contribute to, we would all contribute. Whatever tiny amount we would do, we would all contribute and help them so that they can build houses if they're homeless, or buy food. Yeah, many people are not going to be able to go back to work and things like that. So anyway, let's be vigilant, and let's also, like Susan said, let's just, keep our antennas up and watch and be watchful, and use proxy measures, proxy proxy what yeah proxy signs, to and be because there's some people. I learned that there's some people who are really into a sort of narrow way of looking at things, that even when they walk on the path, they only see what's there. If you ride in a car, you're only seeing the road, and you're not even turning your head to see what's on the side. Those are the guys who are going to be in the biggest problems, because you need to react quickly. Yeah, if you need to jump out of your car and run, you better be alert and very vigilant. Yeah. All right, guys. So thank you so much for spending time with us, and see you next time on Friday. And have a lovely week as we go ahead, and let's keep safe. Keep safe. Okay. Bye bye. Toodles. Thank you from me and Susan. It's goodbye and cheers. Bye bye. Thank you for being with us. Thank you, Louis, and everybody else on the comment section. Those of you who are going to come later, welcome. Please put your comments there and let's hear you. We'll continue this session on Friday, and we'll call it part 2. Okay? Cheers. Bye bye. Bye bye. Good night. Good day.